Windows Server 2019 System Administration. Welcome back everybody. I am Prakash Pradhan, your trainer for this entire series. In today's topic, we are going to talk about one of the important roles that's been given by this Microsoft that we call Windows Deployment Services. If you are using the older version of this Windows Server operating system, let's say Server 2003, you will not find this role Windows Deployment Service. In those days they had another one name that we call a RIS, okay, RIS server. But now after Server 2003 it's been changed. Now let's see what is the meaning of this. Windows Deployment Service role, actually over here, it is used to deploy the operating system in a mass. That means rather than installing the operating system in individual basis in your networking system, what we have over here is to deploy operating system at the same time. That means if you are having, let's say in this scenario, we are having the 6 workstations over here, 6 PCs are there. So if you have to install operating system, let's say in all these 6 computers, that means it's gonna take a lot of time. It's normal, it's gonna take a lot of time now because you'll have to sit in each and every computer. Okay, you'll have to set the configuration, you'll have to boot it. Okay, you need the devices. So many issues are there. Now in order to overcome all these kind of issues, so that you can deploy the operating system, that means the client will be able to install the operating system from the centralized server that we call a Windows Deployment Services. It's a one server. Okay, from this server we are going to deploy the operating system in as much as number of PCs that you would like to deploy over here. That means in easiest way, the Windows Deployment Service role is one of the important role from the Microsoft server that helps you to deploy the operating system. Like in our previous video, we have already seen that we can deploy the application as well. Of course, we did it from the application level, from the group policy, and we have also gone through the using the application over the web app also. So if you notice that it saves your time installing one app, okay, installing the application on individual basis, you can deploy in a mass also. So the same thing we are going to learn today. Okay, we are going to learn today to deploy the operating system from one centralized server to the rest of the PCs, those who are connected in your network. It saves your time. So obviously we are going to talk about the prerequisite. There are certain requirements. It's mandatory actually. Number 1, you need to have a domain controller, or it should be a domain member. Number 2, DNS is mandatory. Why? Name resolution purpose. And the next one is DHCP, because whenever we install operating system using a Windows Deployment Services in your network using the server, centralized server, in order to install the operating system, the first thing that you need to set is a way to obtain the IP, because if you are not able to get an IP address, that means you are not in networking system. So if you are not a part of network, I do believe you all understand you will not be able to access or share any kind of resources in your network environment. So that's why in order to deploy the operating system using WDS, you need to have DHCP. It's mandatory. Without it, you will not be having this feature to deploy the operating system, including PXE client. That means we call it PXE, pre-execution environment. Okay, now over here the client should be able to handle this PXE actually. If your client PC BIOS is not support, okay, is not able to support to load or install the operating system from the networking, then WDS is useless to you. Of course, the nowadays whichever these workstations we buy, obviously it has an option to use support this PXE. And the last requirement over here is, in order to deploy this operating system to the rest of the workstation in your network, operating system has to be stored somewhere, and that goes only in NTFS shared folder. So if you are using a FAT file system, in that case WDS image will not be stored. So that's why you make sure your partition is NTFS. Now without wasting your time, let's go ahead and see how we can install the role, how you can deploy this operating system in a mass. Okay, so let's see now. So first we are going to install the role. We are going to add a role in order to deploy this operating system via WDS. It's simple, there is no complication actually. This is my server, this is an IP address. Okay, it has a DHCP. If there is no DHCP, your client will not be able to boot from the network system. Then you have over here Windows Deployment Services. Okay, whatever additional tools are there, it's gonna add it itself. You don't have to worry about that. Now next, and install. Now Things to note: deployment service require DHCP and DNS. See, I told you that should be available in your network. Before you begin, you need to configure Windows deployment services by running either the Windows deployment service, this configuration wizard, or this shortcut. Okay, and it should be Windows PE environment. Okay, now prerequisite is already listed, so I'm going to take both the options over here. You can read it yourself. Now then install. This is nothing, just we are installing the role of WDS that will help you to deploy the operating system. And I was also talking about that now, by the time it gets installed, we need to see your DHCP as well. Okay, now if I take you over here, okay, it's installing now. I don't think it's gonna let you see this. Okay, let it be installed. You go to the DHCP. I'd like to show you that the DHCP is already installed over here. Okay, see now, DHCP is fully functional over here. Okay, now let's see, by the time it is being installed, that role, I'd like to show you that DHCP is fully functional over here. So lease is also there. That means your client have already issued an IP address. Okay, the main reason to bring you over here is just to show that prerequisite domain or DNS is already there. Partition is already our your NTFS, and the last one was the DHCP. So entire prerequisite, whatever was required, whatever was supposed to be before we deploy the this WDS, it is all met over here. Now let it install all the role that is required along with the supporting tool for this WDS, then we'll configure it. Now in between, I would like to show you something else. Now any operating system that you bring and you extract, you might have noticed there are so many folders. See, I'd like to show you here. Here is one folder where I have extracted my operating system. If you have a look, okay, this is the file that I have extracted from the Windows 7 operating system, most probably, I guess. Now if you have a look in a support folder, okay, it is, sorry, source, sorry, that's not support, source. In a source, you'll be finding two images actually. Vim file, install.vim, boot.vim. See, this boot.vim file in that operating system CD is used to boot your operating system. And another one we do have over here, install.vim. That should be somewhere over here. See, install.vim. These are the two files. Have you noticed the size? See the size, near about 3 GB. Install and boot. Let's see the boot also. Boot.vim. Okay, now these two files are used actually in order to deploy the operating system. These two files has to be added using the WDS. Boot.vim is added in order to boot your operating system from the network, and install.vim is used to install the operating system in your network. Okay, so it's done. Congratulations, there is no error. Now DHCP is already done, and I do have image of operating system over here. I've already shown that. My image is here in a folder called web folder. Okay, work folder. Now we are going to configure it. Okay, let's go to tools and we'll find WDS somewhere at the bottom. Where is that? Okay, Windows deployment services. It's simple, guys. There is no complication over here to deploy. Let it install the console. That means load the console. Now if I go to server, now Windows deployment service is not configured. Obviously we are going to configure the server. It's saying all this requisite. Okay, integrated with the Active Directory. Of course, I am not going to use standalone server. I am going to use the server that is integrated with the Active Directory. Okay, now it is asking you, where would you like to install, okay, the remote installation folder. That means when I'm going to add your folder or in the form of your file that is to load the operating system, where would you like to locate that file, that folder? So it's asking you the location. That means if I go to C drive right now, there is no folder called remote install. C. Why? Because your Windows deployment service is not configured. Now after this, you'll find that that folder will be listed over there. Okay, if you would like to change the location, that can be done. And don't forget these two options. The Windows deployment services configuration wizard detected my DHCP service running on the server. In the same server DHCP is install. Otherwise, there will be somewhere else DHCP to distribute the IP, and operating system will be borrowed from the somewhere else other server. But in our case, in order to save your time and to make it easy going, I have installed DHCP in the same server. But over here, select, see, please select from the following option. Do not listen DHCP on or and DHCP this, and on this also. Configure DHCP options for proxy DHCP. This one leave as it is. Don't uncheck this one. Okay. Now, but when you deploy this operating system, how do you like your client to obtain that? Do not respond to any of the client whenever any client come asking for the operating system while selecting an option to boot from the network. Of course, if I do this, what is the use of setting all this option? Respond only to known clients, or respond to all the client computers, known and unknown. Since I'm in a lab environment, after giving the administrative this privilege authentication, they can install the operating system. Okay, we do have other options that I'll show you later on. Okay, now it's configuring this one. Configuration, it doesn't take long time, but when we add an image install file, it might take long time, because the full 3 GB around file has to be added in that remote folder that we have seen. By the time, I guess the folder is already generated over here. See, remote install folder is already now created. Now here your files are going to be stored. So that's why it's taking time. Congratulations, it's done. Okay, the service did not respond to the start to control request in a timely fashion. Okay, no problem. We have no issue. Right click. Okay, all tasks will start. Because this black, it should go. We have to start the service. Don't be panicked, it works. It takes time sometimes. Okay, successfully started. You see, now this should go. Congratulations, gone. Now we need to add 2 images, as I told you. Boot.wim file has to be added, and install.wim also. So first I'm going to add it, boot.wim. See, there is no file over here. Right click, add boot image, or there is another option. Go to boot image, right click, add boot image. The work is same. Now it's asking you the location. Where is that file from where I'm going to borrow that file? Boot.wim file. Okay, so I'm going to borrow from the location where I have given. See, boot.wim. Open. Next. You can change the name also over here. Let's say Windows 7 Ultimate. You can write anything you want. You can leave as it is also, but you know, it's better you change it. Okay. Of course, we are going to use the 64-bit, so leave it as it is. Okay, now Windows Ultimate 7. See, it's adding an image. That's a boot image. It takes few seconds, or it might be in our case few minutes. Congratulations, it seems like done faster. Okay, it's adding boot image. Whenever we see the green check or the green bar, it's a good symptom for us, for every system administrator. Let it come full. It's adding the boot image. After that, we'll have to add a install image as well. Then we'll have to go to the client and set an option to boot from the network that we call a Pixie. In my case, I'm going to use this virtual machine itself, but of course I'm going to show you how to set your booting option to the network in your Hyper-V as well. Okay, congratulations, it's done. Now the next one is your install image. Okay, boot image is added over here. See. Okay, now install image. Right click, add install image. Of course, we're going to choose and then one more thing. When you create an image, okay, install image, it used to create the group, image group. You can leave the name as it is, or you can change it. It is up to you. I'm going to leave it as it is. Now it's asking you the location. Where is the location of that file? Install.wim. So last time we added boot.wim. Okay. Now, so I'm going to take only one, not all. Okay. So I'm going to take only the ultimate one. Okay. Let's take it. Next. This is the name. See, it is in a group 1 because you might be having the multiple group, having this multiple operating systems images. So that's why there is option for the group. Now this option might take longer than a few seconds. If it takes longer time, don't worry. I'm going to edit it. Then I'll upload after cutting all this gap frame time. So let it install all. Then we'll continue. Now it's adding the image. That's of course install image. Since we're adding the full image of your operating system, so definitely it's going to take few time. That means few minutes it's going to take it. If it takes long, I have to edit this video, don't worry. We have added only one image, so that's why it should take less time. But if I have added all the editions, like home edition and all, it would have taken much longer actually. Since I've added only one, so it's taking a bit less than that. Sometimes it takes more than 10 minutes. It depends upon the the install image that you have selected. To reduce the time frame, I have used only one. So it's loading, almost done. Few more seconds. I don't understand waiting for installing image and all. Sometimes it's a boring work, but it has to be done. It's almost done. It's gonna save you a lot of time. Installing the operating system is a big responsibility in any network environment. We often have to carry your pen drive or bring the image and install and all, so that can be saved. That means we'll deploy one WDS in one server, so any PC, any device, any laptop, okay, any device, you can just boot from the network easily without having any device actually. Now it's almost done. Then we'll see that folder, the size of that folder, remote install folder. Almost done. Congratulations, it's done now. I don't think it took so long, so it has to be displayed over here. Congratulations, it's done. If I go to this folder, I would like to show you over here. If I go inside this folder, okay, let me open this. Your entire files and folder that is responsible for deploying the operating system is all here. See, boot. See, all files are here. Boot file, image file, entire thing is there. See the group we created. Remember? Install.vim, it is there, so it's here now. That means it's successfully done. Now our next work is to see whether it is fully functional or not. We do have many more things actually in WDS, but right now I would like to show you that how to deploy and how to install operating system using the Windows deployment services. Now our one part is done. I should say more than 80% task is done. We install successfully DHCP, WDS is added, and we have also added the image to install and boot as well. Now my next work is to make a one client, and that client should be able to boot from the network using this WDS. Okay, so in that case, I'm going to go to my Hyper-V over here. Okay, now I'm going to create one machine. Okay, so let me create one new machine, virtual machine, because I want you to see practically whether the operating system is deployed using this WDS or not. Okay, so let's create one machine over here. Okay, name, let's give, I'm gonna take it something around 6 because so many these machines are created. Of course, we're going to use this generation 1 is more than enough. RAM, by default this much size is allocated. Switch, I need to use the default one, okay, otherwise it won't be able to boot. Default switch. Go to next, and okay, virtual hard disk name, what would you like to give anything you want, because I've used so many hard disks, so I'm going to use only 60 GB of this hard disk space over here. And if you see existing hard disk, no, it has virtual hard disk later, no, I would like to use this default one only. Now here this screen is important. We are not going to install operating system in this device using DVD or ISO file. So how are you going to load the operating system? Using your network based installation server. This has to be selected. If it is not, your client will not be able to boot from your WDS server. So finish. After that, when I on this device, it should give an option to press F12 so that you can load the operating system from the network. Okay, now done. Now if I turn it on, okay, since the option to boot from the network is already set over here, it should be able to give you the screen where it will ask you to boot from the network. Okay, now let me turn on this, select it, start it. It's a new machine I have made just in front of you only. Now let's see over here, there should be option, okay, to boot from the network, and the option for pressing F12 key. It should come, see DHCP, that means it has a link with the DHCP. It went for the DORA. I hope you do remember how the DORA works, okay, discover, offer, request, acknowledgement. That means it's going to contact the DHCP server in order to load the operating. See F12, press F12. Now you see, have you noticed the IP address of our WDS server itself is a DNS, so that is the 100, it took itself. Now the loading of operating system has started from the network. That means the work that we are doing right now successfully done. Of course, I would like to take it to a few more steps in order to show you that operating system is obviously it's been loaded from the network itself. Okay, so bear with me for a few more minutes or a few more seconds in order to see the installation screen. After that, you all know, okay, just next, create the partition and all, install the operating system, and your work is done successfully. I was expecting to have some error so that you could learn something new, but there is no error, so bad. As a system area administrator, whenever you find any kind of error, it's a privilege to learn something. I remember my days when my faculty used to teach me around 15 to 18 years back. He used to say all the time, you guys are not so lucky. And when I asked, he used to say, because you didn't get any error. And I asked, why sir? For not getting an error is good. Then he used to say, not getting an error means you are not getting opportunity to learn some error, to debug some error. So you all guys are also same thing. You are not that much lucky to get any error, I think. So now it's almost done. So after this, everybody knows, just next, install the operating system and the entire things are done. So let's see to our server what is happening now. Let's go to server, WDS. Okay. Now let's see any pending device. No. Okay. Now here is the one option I'd like to show you. Here, multicast transmission. This option is also there. That means sometime what happens that you deploy the operating system, and if you want that at a time the 6 clients should be able to ask for the operating system, then only they will be able to deploy. That means that's a multicast. You'll have to create the option here. Here, right click, say I would like to show you multicast name. Let's say for 6 devices. Okay. Next, this is on your operating system. Okay. Now see. Schedule cast, anything, start later. Okay, so many options are there. So right now I'm not going to choose this, just I would like to show you. Now let's go to our client. That's our prime concern. Okay, now let's go to client. See, this is the same thing. Next, it's asking you the authentication. I told you, administrator, and I'm going to provide the administrator password of the server, of the domain itself. Error occurred while processing a request. The name provided is not properly formed. That means administrator@biotech.com. Then give the password. Congratulations. See, This is only one edition that we have, Ultimate Edition. Next, now we have a drive. Do you remember that we allocated 60 GB for that? So I need to create the partition. Let's make it as a whole. I have no issues. And it's good for me also that I was also at the need of having one client operating system to deploy some of the other things, having this Windows 7. Okay, especially I was looking for your what you call home folder, work folder. Okay, so that I can use it. Now I guess we have come so far. That means your operating system deployment process is completely done. So that was the process of deploying the operating system that we call a Windows deployment services. After that, what happens now? Client will log in. Okay, since this PC is, this operating system is being deployed from the server, this operating system will directly be a member of your domain if the DHCP IP entire thing is configured properly. So you don't have to worry about any other thing now. Operating system is deployed. Along with that, if you have done the unattended installation, adding the image of your any application, activating this operating system. Okay, and if you have already set an IP address in a DHCP server to pointing out as towards your DNS server, your entire work is done just in one click. Now you don't have to do anything. Enjoy, have your work. You come after some time, the operating system is being loaded successfully. So I guess Windows deployment service went on so easily, so smoothly, without having any error, and I believe you are able to deploy this one easily in your any network environment. If you still find some issues, do write some comment, or you can send me some mail also, so that I can see if there is any error in this kind of work. So if you find it was fruitful, please do like and subscribe. Thank you.